Welcome everyone to the Generation Lyme Podcast. My name is Jesse and I am here with Brooke and Jennifer, my other board members for Generation Lyme. Hi guys.
Hi.
Jesse.
We are very excited to be here. It has been a long time since we have recorded a podcast episode. This one might be a little bit clunky, but we're going to make it through together because that's what we do here at Generation Lyme. It's been so long that we wanted to do an episode just sort of like checking in with each other, just talk about where we are in our lives as far as our health and how that is impacting us on a daily basis. But because it's been so long, just in case you are new here, I'm going to leave it to Jennifer and Brooke to just sort of give a brief update about what Generation Lyme is and what we do and what we offer. Hi, guys.
Hi. Okay, I'll get that started. So if you are new here, or if you're not, this will just be a reintroduction. Generation Lyme is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, a patient-led organization that is built to connect and empower people facing Lyme and all other tick-borne diseases. We have a mission to create a space where patients and supporters can feel welcome and inspired. And we offer several things, including meetups, which are kind of like your support group sessions, but different Generation Lyme style. We host them for patients and parents and supporters a lot. And we offer them at least 5 times a week, all online, all free. We share patient stories. We have this podcast. We host community events. We share resources on our website. So you can go there to find things that you might be looking for if you are newly diagnosed or just a member of the community, and especially if you're a supporter of someone who has a tick-borne disease.
Very good. What a good sales pitch. We love a good sales pitch. Brooke, is there anything you wanted to add from all of that wonderful information?
Yeah, Jennifer just did such a great job describing the breadth of resources that we try really hard to offer this community. And so I'll just touch on meetups briefly. One of the resources that we offer people who have been impacted by tick-borne disease, whether they're patients or supporters of those patients, is online meetups. We have been offering a meetup almost every day consistently since 2020. We offered 300 of these Zoom meetups last year. We'll do the same this year. And last year, almost 3,000 people came to these meetups. And so what's really wonderful about them, I think, in my opinion, is they are spaces where if you are impacted by tick-borne disease, you can meet and talk with other people who really understand what you're going through. And there are different types of meetups too. So you can sort of pick and choose one that best suits your kind of community within the tick-borne disease community, or even sort of what you're looking for on any given day. And so just to give some examples, we have meetups for supporters. We have meetups for women. We have meetups for men. We have a meetup for the LGBTQIA plus community. We have a meetup that happens late at night, which is very beneficial for people on the West Coast, for example. We have an international meetup for people outside the US. And we even have a meetup for those who are taking COVID precautions, meetups for advocates, and additional ones too. So if you're looking for a meetup and to talk with other people impacted by tick-borne disease, there's almost one a day for you to check out.
Brooke, which one do you host?
I host a meetup on Saturday. In fact, there is a meetup on Saturday and Thursday that are topic meetups. So we talk about a monthly topic. This month, the topic is coping. So for example, later today, I'll host a meetup because this is Saturday, and the people at the meetup and I will talk about what does coping and our experience with tick-borne infection mean to us. And we'll share kind of personal experiences and get a sense of, I think, welcoming and belonging as a result of that.
Amazing. Yeah, so if you're just listening and you just found us, come hang out. You don't have to talk on a call. You can just listen, just be with people who get it. No one is going to tell you you're crazy. I'm going to repeat that. No one is going to tell you that you are crazy. And we have just found that connecting Lyme patients with each other is like the most helpful thing we can do to help people suffering right now. So come hang out with us. All right, now that we have that out of the way, I think a lot of people who have been on our calls or who have seen us online or have listened to our podcast sort of know a little bit about your stories. But if not, that's okay. But I just think it would be really helpful because all three of us, besides being board members, are also patients. So we know what it's like to really be in it and be in treatment and figure out navigating life while you're in various stages of this disease. And so, yeah, we just thought it would be really helpful to do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with Brooke, and then I'll go, and then we'll have Jennifer finish us out. And Brooke, I just would love for you to share with the people listening where you are in your Lyme journey, what you're still struggling with, maybe things that you have found to be easier or wins, how Lyme disease is impacting you on a regular basis in your day-to-day life, just any of that kind of stuff. Because, yeah, I just feel like people listening are going to be covering the whole spectrum.
I'll do my best. Thanks, Jesse. I've had Lyme and babesiosis since 2010. So, that means I've been kind of managing this, dealing with it for 14, almost 15 years now. I'm very happy that I'm in a place where I'm now telling folks that I'm 99% better. So that
Sorry,
For a second, I thought that was like an emergency signal. I didn't know what was.
no, we gotta
Yay.
celebrate the wins when we can, guys. Come on.
Absolutely.
Sorry, I got so excited by that number.
Sounded, I don't know. Continue.
Well, we're all used to speaking in percentages as
Yeah.
we sort of think about where we are in our health management and our experience with Lyme. And so, lately I have felt like I'm 90%, 99% better, and I feel really happy about that. But like peeling back that onion layer for a second, like what does that really mean? I I still treat Lyme and babesiosis. I take a kind of a cocktail of herbal supplements on a daily basis to kind of attack like any remaining Lyme and babesiosis in my body. I also work out, not aggressively, but I work out once a week. I am a daily sauna enthusiast, so I go to a sauna once a day because I've always found that sweating is a detox mechanism for me to help again manage my symptoms
Every day. No.
every day.
When's the last time you missed a day in a sauna?
Um, Last Sunday because I was out of town. I was out of town.
And how long are you typically doing that for?
20 minutes, 25 minutes.
Gotcha.
And I'm proud of the fact that I'm a lot better because it allows me to do the other things in life that I care about, to work, to have other hobbies, to work with you, Jesse, and you, Jennifer, to build Generation Lyme and provide these services to people in our community. So I am very happy about that. But, I also feel like 99% isn't 100%. And I want to be very clear with listeners that I'm constantly trying to get even better. And so, for example, chemical sensitivities is something that I have worked to overcome for a really long time. And that's still a symptom that I developed through Lyme disease and babesiosis that I'm still tackling in different ways. So, I don't know if I can get symptom free, but I think that's always sort of my North Star, and I'll try as hard as I can to get better and better and better and still do the other wonderful things in life I want to do.
And just in case people are listening that are dealing with chemical sensitivities, when you say you're like working on your chemical sensitivities, what does that actually look like in practice?
I often highlight chemical sensitivities because antibiotics and herbal supplements helped to make my symptoms of Lyme and babesiosis more minimal over time. Those were symptoms like brain fog, fatigue, muscle soreness, things like that. Chemical sensitivities, that particular symptom did not lessen in severity with medication. And so I have had to learn how to deal with them in different ways. And I'll be succinct here. For years, I used to simply avoid chemicals that my body negatively reacted to. Those would be fragrant chemicals or harsh chemicals in different fabrics. Now, over the past couple of years, I've gone through what I would term like exposure therapy, where I will identify a chemical that I'm sensitive to in a laundry detergent, or could be fragrant, like from a candle, or it could be an unknown chemical in an article of clothing. And I will purposefully make myself be around that chemical for sometimes hours or days at a time until my reaction to that chemical, known or unknown, just declines in severity. It's been a multi-year process. It's a long process. I'm happy to go into greater detail, but it has been a way that I have become desensitized to different chemicals, and has made me pretty optimistic that I can spend the rest of my life being around some of these chemicals, as opposed to what I did for years, which was simply to avoid them, which is also another effective strategy. But I'm trying something different now and finally making some headway.
So I have two questions just listening to you say that because I think this is fascinating. Um, the first one being like, is it so bad that like if you're on the subway and someone's got cologne, like does that negatively impact you right away? And also like, I guess two more questions. Did you did someone tell you to do exposure therapy or were you just like, I'm gonna try this? Because the idea of being like allergic to something and then exposing yourself to do it, like exposing yourself to it, like normally we just go like you have to avoid the thing you're allergic to. But here you're really leaning into it. So I'm just wondering if that was like a strategy someone gave you or you came up with it, and also like because for some of these are like years, so you're just wearing these things day after day after day for years, hoping that it's going to go down. And what is that like mentally? And like, were you just like isolating yourself from the world for fear of chemical sensitivity?
Yeah, I will try to be succinct because we want to hear Jennifer's update too. But um, the cologne on the subway example is a great one, because for people with chemical sensitivities, that being close to someone with a fragrant chemical, let's say it's cologne, can cause headaches, mood swings, an exacerbation of tick-borne disease symptoms, whatever they may be, just by someone being around a chemical like that the body over time thinks is a harmful one. Um, for me, I experienced the same type of thing. And one reason that I sort of like to talk about the strategy I've used to overcome chemical sensitivities is because for years I Googled multiple chemical sensitivity, or how does one get cured from chemical sensitivities. And the internet is full of advice such as just avoid those chemicals, or maybe you can make some progress, but it's going to take years, and overcoming them completely is um, borderline impossible. And so I felt like that might be true, but I wanted to test it. And so I have spent, I'll tell you what I'm doing now. On Fridays and Saturdays, when I'm in low stress situations, meaning I'm not working, and I can afford a exacerbation of symptoms, I wear a pair of non-iron pants. They're like khakis from Brooks Brothers. My body reacts negatively to them, but I wear them all weekend long, not during this podcast, but all weekend long while I'm sleeping. And it does make me have some head pressure. It makes me more tired, makes my muscles sore, like my leg muscles. But having done this like almost every weekend for many, many months, the reaction is less and less and less. And I know that I'll be able to wear that pair of pants the rest of my life without problem. And it sounds so like I'm almost getting emotional saying it, because it's been such a victory for me. And I didn't want to spend my life only wearing pairs of pants that I knew I could tolerate and just wash over and over and over and over. So
Man, you must be tough to shop for too. Like
a
no one
little.
could ever buy you clothes.
But people with chemical sensitivities really deal with that, and
Yeah.
and I appreciate you giving me some time to talk about it because I know there are people listening who struggle with chemical sensitivities in the same way that I have, and I just want to, provide a hopeful message for how I dealt with it.
I just think, I mean, it's because you're saying it so casually, but like the amount of dedication that you've spent on this for years is actually like so impressive. Between going to the sauna, taking the herbs, sleeping in the same pair of pants. It's like it's amazing because you're feeling so much better and we talk like all the time and I like always forget that you're doing all these things in the background because if it were me, I'd be complaining about them constantly and you never even bring them up. So it's yeah, it's just fascinating.
I remember when the pants first came up, and I'm so impressed and happy for you that that's still going on and going
Thank
well.
you so much, Jennifer.
I feel like we might have to say that this is not medical advice, that what we're saying works for
Yes,
us.
Right, right. This is
we are
not,
not
yeah,
medical
So,
doctors.
yeah, if
yeah.
you have a reaction to
This is
something,
not
maybe,
medical advice. Yeah.
but the fact that you found something that works for you, I get it. I have chemical sensitivities too, and yikes, yeah, it's just horrible.
Yeah.
So I'm so glad that that's worked for you. Wow.
Thank you so much.
I feel like any Lyme person could have something where the response would be, yikes.
I mean, like the most understated yikes.
Yikes.
Yeah,
Exclamation point, capital Y.
yeah.
Um, all right, I'll go briefly because, and then I do obviously want to hear what's going on with Jennifer. But for those of you that have listened to this podcast before, the decision to put it on hold was mine. I was in remission for like 6 years, from 2015 to 2021. I ran a bunch of marathons for Lyme research. I was fully back at work and a person, and I got married, and I have somehow managed to stay married through all of this. Um, and then in 2021, I sort of had a relapse of my symptoms, which culminated in some like really intense stomach stuff, which is super not fun. And it was hard to leave the house for a really long time. And I stopped working for a really long time. Um, I travel for work a lot, so and I'm just not a good patient. There are some people on our calls, and even like somebody like Brooke, who can be really in it and stay positive. And I have always found that to be a superpower because I am a very bad patient and I get very frustrated and very angry and very sad and very overwhelmed. And so, yeah, it's been like the last couple years have been challenging in a way that the six before weren't. If you are dealing with stomach issues, I have started a treatment called FMT. This is not medical advice. You can look it up. It's gross. Who cares? I was feeling better for a long time. Now I'm not. I'm doing another round. And throughout all of that, like having Generation Lyme as something to focus on and keep me accountable and to talk to you guys every week and to host every week. Uh, I mean, when we started our calls, it was to help other people. And I know, speaking for myself, that like there are times when I'm hosting and I need to be with people who get it, like even when I don't feel like it, I'm not feeling well, I'm tired, I'm busy, whatever. By the time the meetup is over, I always feel better than when I started, which is part of the reason why we encourage people to come so much, because I just know from personal experience just like how uh, helpful they can be. Um, and also, yeah, still married. My wife is amazing, and it's also really hard for her sometimes. I know there are people listening to this who are in relationships, or maybe you're the sick one or you're the caregiver. Both roles are really challenging. I experience that firsthand all the time. There are a lot of sacrifices that come from being with somebody who's dealing with this stuff. There's a lot more complication. Um, but ultimately, like we're in this together, and yeah, it can be really tough for them too. And they don't want to deal with it, and they're over it, just like the patients are. And so, yeah, it's been interesting. I just recently moved to a new city, which is a whole other thing because I don't have my doctors here, and God forbid I go into a full relapse and I got to find a Lyme literate doctor and all this stuff. But now that I'm in a totally new community, meeting all new people, it's like a whole other wave of people who know sick patients. So like even just in the couple weeks I've been down here, I've spoken to so many friends of friends friends of acquaintances, relatives of people who either have Lyme and they know they have Lyme, or probably have Lyme and no one's ever even brought it up to them. And it's just staggering to me, and I'm sure to all of us, how similar everybody's stories are. That people are sick and suffering, and the medical community doesn't always help them or give them a diagnosis, or shoots them down, diminishes what they're going through. And yeah, even in a part of the world, I'm in the Southeast, a lot of doctors think it's not here. It super is. It's really bad here. But it's just been amazing the percentage of conversations I've had with people who are dealing with this. And so we just know how big of a problem it is, you know? So yeah, I'm in it. We're all in it. I had a good couple of months. It was awesome. I would highly recommend being healthy. It's way better. I slept through the night for the first time in a decade. That was crazy. I woke up not tired. It was crazy. But yeah, whether you're like deep in it or you're in and out or you're in whatever phase you're in, like you belong here, and we hope that you keep hanging out with us, and we hope we can help you. So, and I'm happy to be feeling a little better so we can start the podcast again, because I love this podcast. And you guys for listening, so thank you. So now we're going to finish it out with Jennifer, our fearless board member, Jennifer Hoffmann. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi.
You've barely said anything for the last like 15 minutes, so you're doing a great job.
I'm doing a great job being quiet.
Holding it, you're really bringing a vibe.
I'm fidgeting a little bit though.
Very, very relatable. So yeah, whether for people who know a little bit about your story or not, like, where are you in your Lyme? I know this is such a heavy and complicated question. Every time I ask a Lyme patient, "How are you?" I'm like, why am I asking this? It's so stupid. What's going on in your journey?
I just had a revelation about how weird it must be when I respond to "How are you?" to people who don't have Lyme or another chronic illness,
Oh
because I'm
no.
always like kind of like, or whatever, like, but like fine, but with that look in the eye that we understand, or that little laugh, that's I say good or fine, but it also has that and other
Yeah.
people must just think I'm a little silly or something, but you know what that means.
I
It's
think,
just
well, it's interesting you
great,
said it's
great.
interesting you said that, because a lot of these people I've spoken to, I'm like, "How are you?" And they're like, "Oh, I'm good." And then I say, "Are you good or are you horrible?" But you have to pretend to be good around other people because you're trying to take care of everyone else. And 100% of the time, they are like that one,
Right.
you know?
It's a loaded question because I'm not trying to deflect from your question about but
Being
just as a little
sneaky.
aside, it is a loaded question because so many people, we're all kind of conditioned to say I'm fine because we don't want to burden other people with how we really are. But at the same time, being just sugarcoating everything or not giving any real answer, it doesn't really help the other person. It doesn't even really help the other person you're talking to, because then they don't feel free to be honest. And so then nobody's being honest. And it's just kind of this societal thing that we're in. So I'm not the person who's going to complain and how are you? Oh yeah, my foot is hurting today or something. But
Oh, that's what I do.
it's just kind of funny to me that it's so challenging to answer that simple question.
Yeah.
With that, it's challenging to answer the question that you just asked. It's been a while. Um, I had my Lyme tale is complex, um, but I am doing much better currently than I was when I would say I was at my sickest, which was I've had a neurological case of Lyme disease. I mean, it's also musculoskeletal, and I have arthritis, and it's affected many of my systems because I've had it a long time. But the biggest issue is neurological. And so when I was sickest, I presented like I had early onset Parkinson's, and I had brain injuries that were actually partially attributed to chemical sensitivity and mast cell that I seem to acquire because of tick-borne diseases and infections. Really complicated. So you guys have known me through one of those times and have known me since for years as I've kind of improved. So I'm not sick like that sick anymore, thankfully. But I don't know what percent better I am because I've totally lost track or maybe never got any baseline. Like I don't know what a healthy baseline would be, but I just try to function. And I don't focus. I do my best to kind of right size it, whatever that means. And it's a constant battle. So I need to give my health its due, so that I can be as well as possible. Uh,
What does that phrase mean? Because
I
I'm
can explain it. You mean like give it its due?
yeah.
Like, like, I'm someone who I'm kind of, I am a very positive patient. But I'm somewhere between the two of you in terms of, or maybe not. It's just, but I'm someone who will easily focus on something else if I can. Something outside of myself and my self care, especially other work that I'm doing, whether it's Generation Lyme or my day job or just something that seems to kind of feed the world around me. And especially if I'm feeling like it's working, like what I've done for myself has worked a little bit, that I can kind of lose steam with my trajectory for what I'm doing with my health. So I need to remember that I need to keep track of what I'm doing for myself. It's a little bit like the airplane thing of put the mask on yourself first so you can help other people maintain your own foundation. So I need to give it what I mean by that is like it needs to have a core place in my life, where if I'm not taking care of myself, I'm not taking care of anybody. It's something that I've learned, but I also I don't, it doesn't rule my life in quite the same way. And yet there are so many pill bottles around where I'm sitting.
Yeah.
In the time since we had the last podcast, I have been absolutely up and down and been re-diagnosed twice and tried different treatments for tick-borne stuff, and they haven't worked. And I'm also working, and I'm working more than ever. I know that a lot of our listeners might wonder if that's even possible if you are sick, really sick, or have ever been really sick. So it's really cool to be in the position where I got better enough to be able to do what I'm doing now, but it's not without its challenges. So just finding the time to manage everything
Yeah.
is hard, because managing your health could be a full-time job. It is a full-time job for many people, and it has been for me in the past, and it could still be if I did it right, honestly. And it's just so I'm making it a part-time job. Um, and I think having this community is really helpful, even though some of it takes time and effort. It also gives me a lot and still gives me that place to and people who understand what it's like, which is really important. I know we like to say that no one should go through Lyme disease alone, and Generation Lyme exists so no one ever has to. And I can't imagine what it would be like to not just to be so isolated still and not understand, not have other people understand, or not understand that I was among many who experienced the same thing and could just bounce all of these experience off of, to have all these people to bounce all these experiences off of. So it's really imperfect, but I just try to weigh everything against, the general goal of feeling happy, um, and that helps. So it might not be about perfect health. It might not be about any one thing, but yeah, it all comes together.
There are so many things. There are so many amazing things you said in there. One of them was about doing it quote unquote right. I do think that's the difference between me and you guys. Like when I have been sick, I've always been self-employed. So like when I've been really bad, I just shut down and I'm like, I'm not working. I'm not doing anything. I'm just focusing on health. And I have had a lot of conversations with new patients recently about like they feel a lot of pressure because if they don't follow the letter of every thing that their doctor wants them to do, and if they don't keep this super strict diet, and if they eat anything remotely bad at all, that it's going to take all their progress away, and they're putting all this pressure on themselves. So I'm just wondering, I guess from both of you, because Brooke, you're 99% better, but you're still actively treating. Like, what does that balance look like as far as like working, having a responsibility, honoring yourself, trying to take care of yourself? How often does that come up? Are you guys like, is it easy for you to be flexible? Does it get stressful if you feel like you're not doing everything quote unquote right? Is that something that happens for either of you?
Can we just imagine, though, that I had big air quotes on the word right when I said it? Because if you know me, you know that I don't think there's one right way to do. But yes, good question.
It's a great question. You mentioned that sometimes within our community and sometimes at meetups, there is a type of, I guess I'll call it stress or maybe discomfort when someone, and I'll raise my hand because I've been this person before too, but let's say a person has a treatment regimen, maybe it's self-imposed by the patient, him or herself, or by the doctor, and the body just can't like keep up with it, because the Herx is too bad or the dosage of an antibiotic or an herbal supplement or something else is too much for the body to handle. I've definitely been someone who has been frustrated in those episodes and sometimes taken too much of a supplement and Herx too much and sort of had to dial it back. And I think there isn't a perfect answer to this question. It's going to be different for everybody, but maybe there are two takeaways from my personal experience. Part of a conversation with a physician is two-way. It's like a two-way street, and a patient and a doctor together can sort of make modifications to a treatment schedule. And when patient him or herself is making decisions about treatment, maybe it's an herbal supplement and how much to take. Like, do you take what it says on the bottle or some other amount? That can be adjusted too. And, I think one thing that all of us in this community do really well is we learn a lot about our body and what the body can handle and what dosage is too much or too little of something. So yeah, I mean, I have learned to be okay with adjusting any type of like treatment schedule that I'm on, rather than having it just like cut and dry and the same all the time. There's like a little bit of an experimental phase that I had to go through for sure.
If I could just add to,
Please.
like, I agree with all of that. Um, I think if you've been sick for a while, or I mean, I guess this applies to everyone at some point, you might get really excited or have had the experience of getting really excited about a treatment plan and been told that this will do it or this might do it. And so you might go through a period of doing whatever you were told perfectly and thinking if I do exactly what I was told here, then my life will improve or I and look like the following how I want it to, or I will feel all better. I'll be all better. And then when I do this and I feel all better, I'll feel all better when I do that. And maybe you got disappointed, or maybe you'll get disappointed, and that can be pretty earth-shattering. No matter what, it's really hard when you do everything quote unquote right and it still fails. But sometimes these things fail because these tick-borne diseases that we have don't have a cure right now. And so a lot of it is just people trying to match up known treatments that have worked for some with new patients that they're seeing and just hoping that something works at any given time while they're sick. So if you go through that enough, and you might in my case, I went through that so many times, I would say, okay, this is going to do it. And I would get really excited and I would totally upend my world and I would focus, I would be all in, I would be very rigid. And I still have these health conditions. And It has taught me a lot of things. I mean, I don't get, I've learned to be more flexible and I have learned to be more compassionate to myself. And I have learned to manage my expectations, which is not the same thing as being less hopeful. But it is not, I don't, my expectations of life and how great it can be is not, does not hinge entirely on the absence of symptoms. It hinges more on maybe the mitigation of symptoms and some other stuff. So it's a combination of things, and it's a lot of flexibility, and like what Brooke was saying, being compassionate about what you can do. And it's a lot of what this podcast was about, doing our best. If you just do the best you can, you do the best that your body can handle. If you've missed a dose of something, or if you've eaten a cracker and you weren't supposed to, you're probably going to be okay. Asterisk to whatever you might be dealing with personally, but
None of this is medical advice.
right. But I mean, like if I ate a cracker, I have a wheat allergy. That would be a very big problem. But
Right.
you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I mean, it's just it takes a lot to wrap your head around all of these pieces of advice, and often the pieces of advice are also, you have to mentally be all in. Is you have to change, adjust your mindset, and people not only say that but tell you what your mindset should be.
Hmm.
I would argue that flexibility is also warranted there too, that there's not just one way to do anything, and critical thinking and knowing what's right for you is still appropriate there too. So um, just keeping your own power and sense of autonomy no matter what is very hard when you're sick, but any place you can do it, I think is healthy, and this is no exception.
I love all of that. Just expanding on that a little bit. It came up on a call a long time ago, and obviously I can't remember who said it, but somebody was talking about how they had stopped treatment and they were really beating themselves up about it because they weren't actively fighting to get rid of it. And somebody pointed out on the call that like not treating is also a form of treatment, and like taking a break from everything, giving your body a chance to rest and reset can also be really important. I had a period where I had a point where I'd been taking 80 supplements for a year and I was tired of traveling around with them. I was literally like leaving my house with a backpack full of pills, and I have strong, we probably all do have, I have strong opinions about pill organizers, like, yeah, like the single day ones, the ones for a whole week, multiple compartments for the day. I have strong opinions about that. And I just got to the point where I was like, I had to travel, I had to fly to Canada. And I was like, I'm not dealing with it. I'm not bringing an extra suitcase through customs with a bunch of medicine in it to deal with all those questions. And I stopped all my treatment. And so, yeah, if you're listening and you've tried a bunch of stuff and you wanted to take a break, like that's super okay too. I think like what Brooke said, it's your treatment is a combination of a discussion between you and your doctor. I think that's such a helpful reminder for sure. Um,
Oh, I also feel like we should acknowledge there's some people who might hear this and be like, I'm just dying to get treated at all.
you just what?
I want to acknowledge that there might be some people listening to this who are feeling, who would hear this and think, I am just dying to get treated at all.
Totally.
Like the privilege of stopping my treatment is something I can't even imagine, because getting treated for Lyme disease is very hard. It's maybe getting a little easier in some states with some doctors, in some circumstances, but not that much and not enough. And so there are a lot of self-care and self-compassionate things that matter in that person's case, but that case is not the same case as someone who can pick and choose among a lot of things. It might look more like going to a meetup or doing what they can to try and just know that they're not crazy, or know what they deserve, and have allies in their life and things like that, because the Lyme disease problem is still not solved.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a great point, and it's so frustrating because we hear from those people constantly. All right, before we wrap it up here, I'm going to ask, we didn't talk about how we were going to end the podcast today, but I just want to give you guys an opportunity because we've been doing this a long time and we've taken a break for a while. So I guess I'm just wondering if somebody's listening to this, they just got diagnosed or they think they might have Lyme disease, but they're not sure. And I know we've asked this on a podcast before, but again, it's been a while. Like, what would you say to a person who's new to this community? Yeah, what would you say to a new person?
You want me to go first?
I sure do.
Um, it's hard to encapsulate 14 years of experience and figure out
Put you guys on the spot.
what the lessons are. I would say for someone who has been newly diagnosed with Lyme or another tick-borne infection, resources and educational materials about these conditions are more prevalent. They are easier to find now on the internet or through certain platforms than they once were. And that is, I think, a step in the right direction. Um, I would also say that there are some people who have this diagnosis that get better very quickly, and there are a lot of people who don't. As I mentioned earlier, I have been working really hard to get as healthy as I can over a 14-year period of time. And so for someone newly diagnosed, this could be the beginning of either a short health experience or a long one. And wherever that person falls, there are now a lot of resources to help that person sort of figure out how to navigate this. And some of those resources are patient and people oriented, which is one of the reasons that we created this organization. I think one thing that I believed early on was that the best information that I was getting about Lyme and babesiosis was coming from other patients who had been through this before. Um, these are people who were friends of mine who just like gave me information about how to find an LLMD or how to think about treatment or what the treatment process might look like. And so don't negate the power of information that you can get from other patients like the three of us or other people in your lives who have had these conditions and sort of been through the experience before. It's probably the fastest way to get a sense of what the experience might look like.
Love that. Jennifer, what do you got for a new patient? I know we could all talk about this for literally an hour each.
I think we could do an episode just for new patients, which might be really helpful.
Yeah.
There's a lot of information that's going to be thrown at you, and it's really hard. Head to meetups. Also, it's very isolating and scary to have Lyme disease, whether you end up being someone who gets better right away or takes a long time to feel any difference. And just being in community is extremely helpful because if you have Lyme disease or another tick-borne disease, and there are several, um, you may take a long time to get diagnosed. If you're coming here after getting diagnosed, you may have been, or while you're still in the process, you may have experienced years potentially of going to doctors and just not feeling well, and going to doctors and either not being believed, being dismissed for some reason, being told that there's no help available, and there are answers available. They're imperfect, but they exist. And so just being around people who can help point you in some direction and also be of comfort and help you remember that there's always something to look forward to, and there are always just individuals who can be of support is hugely helpful. And we are all a testament to that. If you're looking for a diagnosis, there are a lot of resources online, and we have some on our website, and some of our some other organizations in this tick-borne disease field have really great information for what to do, and labs in particular to try, because the tests that you might get at a normal doctor's office will not be sufficient. So it does require some self-advocacy and pushing, but it is possible, and our community can help guide you there. So just to close out all of this, I know it's overwhelming, but you deserve to be believed and included, and you are not a burden. You're also not crazy, as Jesse said. And yeah, and there's a place for you in this world.
I love that. I was laughing because I was thinking about what my answer would be, and then you hit on all of them. Um,
Sorry.
no, please. It's so important. So I would just say, just to wrap up here, um, like in a lot of ways, the medical community is like decades behind, and so the Lyme community has to kind of save itself, which sort of goes along with what Brooke and Jennifer were saying. So like listen to people who have this. But also, like in my personal life, there was Lyme disease before I had community, and then there was Lyme disease after I had community, and that was a very defining moment in my life where it didn't make the symptoms any easier, but it definitely made it easier to be dealing with the symptoms because I had other people that understood. And then the last thing I'll say is I think health is a human right. I think, just like Jennifer said, like you deserve to be believed, but also you deserve to be healthy and you are worth fighting for. And a lot of people that we have met are not used to taking care of themselves. They're uncomfortable when they have to ask for things, but like you deserve to be healthy and you deserve to be able to do the things that you need to do to get there, whether that's calling a doctor's office a lot, arguing with your health insurance company, asking for support from the people in your lives. People want to help you. People love you. And so often people feel so isolated and they want the people in their lives to understand and to get support, but they don't ask for it. And so I think just one of the things that I have really had to learn over, again, like a really long time, over a decade, is like it's okay to ask for things and it's okay to take up space and it's okay to need things, you know? Um, so yeah, anything else before we wrap it up here? And a very loud truck goes by my apartment.
That was great.
That was great.
Well, it's great to see you guys again. You guys are awesome.
Great to see you.
I'm super inspired by you. I love listening to you guys talk about your journeys because it's so inspiring.
I love it too. I learned something new about Jennifer and Jesse
I
every
know.
time we do this podcast. Yeah.
Oh.
You guys.
Thank you for listening. If you've gotten something out of this podcast, we would love if you gave us a good rating, share it with someone who might need it, subscribe. We're going to be doing this a lot more often now. And if you have suggestions for us or have questions about Lyme disease, you can reach out to us. We have a ton of really great information and resources on our website, genlyme.org, genlyme.org. We've got stuff about our meetups, patient resources, financial stuff. A lot of really great stuff there. Jennifer's done an amazing job for our website. And other than that, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. See you guys.
Thank you.